afford to quit it because you don't have any health insurance or any benefits or anything like that. That weekly check coming in is always very handy. And 56 hives of bees are going to take a lot of time. And these bees in the meantime are just straight out working 24 hours a day, and they are doing what nature has intended them to do. Okay? Beekeepers have problems because things have entered our lives to give them a challenge. In other words, these honeybees are under a lot of stress in today's society. I've lived to see what it was like. My first bee yard was 10 hives of bees of my own in 1949. We never thought about beetles, hive beetles. We never thought about mites and that sort of thing. We didn't, even anybody that would use a chemical in the hive, we didn't like that. We had American foul brood, that was our major challenge, and the solution to that was to burn the bees and the hive. Because if you get foul brood, it is extremely contagious, like setting somebody with COVID, sitting here breathing and coughing and whatever, and all of you sitting here, you would be facing that same problem. Anybody in here immune to COVID? Honeybees are not immune to a lot of the things that are happening. And so we as beekeepers have a responsibility to do something about it. Here are some choices a person has if you have a hive. If you want to take a weak hive and combine it with other hives, you just can do that. How many of you heard of the newspaper method? The newspaper method is used, it's explained in most bee books and things. My family never used the when you have a huge number of hives of bees, it takes time to spread a sheet of paper over top of a hive. The wind's blowing, you gotta fight it and keep in place. You just find the strongest hive in your bee yard. You take drone laying bees, you take weak hives of bees, you just carry them and set them on top of the strongest hive you've got. Some people say, oh, they'll fight a little bit. Yeah, they do. The bees in a strong hive are you could even leave a weak queen in that box. I'm gonna tell you, the strong hive is not gonna tolerate a weak hive. And anything laying eggs or not contributing to the welfare of the stronger hive. They will, you'll see bees hauled out the entrance and dumped on the ground in front, but those bees are probably going to be old bees anyway, and you just save time. Time is money. And you go back to that same hive that you set the weak hive on top of 2 weeks later, and you can set it off and make a split. You haven't lost a hive. You can make a new split. Just add a new queen, pick the original hive at that location up, move it, set the new hive where the old hive sat. You're going to get all the foraging bees flying from the good, strong hive, and the new queen, and that hive's going to be a productive hive.
What's the double screen board?
Okay, let me show it to you. The question is, what is a double screen board? How many of you in here own one? Okay, nice piece of equipment to have. I'm going to move ahead just a few slides here. This is an example of setting a weak hive on top of a stronger hive. The same principle is going to work with a double screen board. Okay, this is a double screen board. Come on in.
We're gonna squeeze a little soup.
Okay. This is a double screen board. What a double screen board does is makes two hives in one position. You separate the bottom box from the box above it. There's air that can pass through a double screen. There is a separation of 3/8 to 1/2 inch between the two layers of screen wire, so the bees cannot touch each other. They are completely separate, and this has some really great advantages. In Ohio, for example, we can do splits earlier in the year if we use a double screen board, basically because the heat of the strong hive underneath moves up through the double screen, and you can have a nuke on top. If you want to make nukes and sell nukes, wow, is this a valuable asset to making some money? Because you could take your hive, leave the queen down below, give them some room because they'll swarm if you don't give them room. But you can set a hive box on top, take a couple frames, just 2 frames maybe, of bees and brood, put a couple frames of honey around them, and the warmth coming up through that screen keeps that cluster warm so that they can produce more bees. And when you get ready to sell the nuke, just take it, put it in a nuke box, and pick up $180 from somebody. Not bad. If you want to keep it for an increase for yourself, good. You could actually use this to make a double queen hive, so you make more honey. I see some of you kind of looking at this thing and saying, man, I could make one of those. You can. There's nothing really hard about them. This one happens to be called a Snellgrave board. A fellow in England developed it. It has 3 openings to it. Most of the ones that are being sold here in the United States have an opening that you put to the back of the hive. In other words, the entrance, the bees are coming in, you don't want to have this entrance right above that. But you turn it around and the bees have a back entrance. Bees coming into the bottom hive have a front entrance. And I'm going to tell you, with a weak hive that you're trying to save, this is one solution. If you're trying to make increases, it's another solution. If you want to make honey, it's another solution. So I appreciate that question. What is a double screen board? They cost approximately $25 if you were to go out and buy one. And if you're going to build one, I'd suggest buying one, and then maybe if you have a shop, go ahead and make your own, because you'd have a model to work from. Okay. I love these questions that come from the audience, because you know what? I can't know exactly what's on your mind. And when we get into these subjects, there's so many things about beekeeping. Everybody that is a beekeeper, for those of you that are new, don't listen to one person. Ask questions of other people, because we as beekeepers develop our own style. We read the book and we try something, it doesn't work, we move on. If somebody tells me I had 5 hives that went through the winter and I've got those 5 hives now and they're doing well, I want to talk to that person. What did you do? What did you do? By the way, I will be working with the Veterinary College at North Carolina State University in April this year. Even veterinarians are getting into the beekeeping thing. If you want to buy any chemical that is an antibiotic, you have to have a prescription to get it. And the veterinarians are getting into the prescription business. Now, this guy from New Jersey that was visiting me said, Dana, what do you think about that? Let me tell you what I think about it. Somebody's making money off you. Because a veterinarian doesn't give away services free. It's like going to the doctor to get a prescription. You only can get the prescription when somebody writes the script for you. And these vet students are literally stepping into the beekeeping world, becoming knowledgeable about what we're doing, how we handle hives. 2 years ago, I was asked to speak to them and basically explain to them what my expectations of a veterinarian would be. And I actually said I'd burn my hive. It'd be cheaper to burn my hive than to go to a veterinarian. But you know, they've got veterinarians now that are dental hygienists with dogs. There are people who spend a bundle of money on a pet. Maybe some of you in here. Anybody in here own a horse? Or anything like that? Well, the veterinary college is spreading this into honeybees. During the week in April, mid-April, I'll be out there for 5 days working with the students in the bee yard. I do have a presentation to make. They have a syllabus and they're going to be spending half the day. They go in at 9 o'clock and by noon they're done at the first station in the morning, which is mostly lecture, listening to a professor talk about pheromones and all the really, neat stuff that goes on with honeybees. And then they'll go out in the bee yard and have a chance to work with me. There'll be other volunteers as well. But it'll be fun seeing them get stung. I mean, they are green behind the ears, really, really green. They ask a lot of interesting questions, but when you get somebody working with a hive tool and you see the hive tool flying over your shoulder, you say, okay, this is beekeeping, and you get stung. And that has happened when I've been working with beekeepers. They see me out there without any gloves. I say, don't be stupid. If you're afraid of the bees and you're afraid of getting hurt, wear gloves. Wear your bee veil. Don't do what I do. So when we get back to this particular piece of equipment that any of you could actually use in your bees to take care of weak hives, you could take a weak hive and sit at the top of a strong hive, still protect the queen in your weak hive. See if it's going to develop any at all. If it doesn't, then you requeen. But for the most part, this is a very functional piece of beekeeping equipment. Okay? And it kind of works in with this thing. It works almost like adding a piece of paper to combine two hives, except in this case, instead of adding a piece of paper, you're putting the screen board between two hives, and above that, you could even raise queens. How many bees does it take to raise a queen? Couple cups, that's it. Couple cups of bees, young bees.
Bunches and bunches.
I'm sorry?
A whole lot.
Actually, it takes a whole lot to create the queen cells, but to actually take a virgin queen and to form a little cluster around her, all you've got to do is have what are called mini nukes. That may be a new term for you as well. But do you know what a mini nuke is?
Just 2 frames. They're little tiny frames.
Little tiny, yeah, it's a
little feeder in the back.
It's got a little feeder in it, and the frames are about half of what a regular standard frame is. Quarter size hive. And commercial beekeepers use these mini nukes to get maybe 3 or 4 cycles of queens in the early spring. And bees are resources. I mean, it's like having a package of bees to raise a queen. You don't need a package of bees. All you need is a couple of cups. And all she has to do then, the virgin queen, is take a mating flight and hopefully come back to the mating nuke, and in, well, let's say 10 days or so, 12 days, she's ready for sale. The queens you buy out of Georgia, most of them are raised in mini nukes.
I saw those at the conference, and I didn't talk to the people, and I thought it was kind of a joke that this lady and her 2 little kids were making these little bitty hives.
Yes.
But that was something real, huh?
It is real. It is real. Keep in mind, if you're a commercial beekeeper, bee equipment takes up room. You can have, I've seen mating nukes, and I used to raise queens too. I've seen mating nukes with a regular standard 10 frame deep box split in the middle with, you know, a nuke on this side and a nuke on that side. I've seen nukes that take a standard 10 frame box and have a spacer in the middle and a spacer down the middle, and you got four little nukes, and each of those nukes has a side of the hive to fly out on. In other words, you don't put two entrances on the same side. This hive up in the right hand corner, they have an entrance over here. The hive over here on the other side has an entrance out to the front, let's say. And you know what? They're getting queens. If you can raise queen, is anybody in here raising queens? Have you ever raised a queen? It would be fun in your bee yard to do something like that. I don't know if anybody would take that on, but born and bred is something going on in North Carolina. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's just, what I can say to you is it's not hard. If you think it's hard to raise a queen, forget about the hard part. Bees will raise queens if they are queenless. All you've got to do is set it up so that you manage how they raise the queens. You see what happens when I get off topic? I want to emphasize this and emphasize it hard. The queen is the most important insect in your hive. A mated, good queen is the most important thing in your hive. If you have a poor queen, don't name your queens. It's like taking your heifer off the trailer and putting her into the field and saying, this is Susie, and you go out and pet her on the head and do all kinds of things, and then you're going to take her to the slaughterhouse, you know, in the fall of the year. Don't name your queens, because she's going to have to be replaced at one time or another. The big question is, do you want to raise your own from the stock you have, or do you want to go out and buy one? That's the major difference. You guys are being pretty good and patient. Okay, what is a poor queen? You may ask yourself, Dana, what is a poor queen? I've got two pictures here. What do you think about this brood laying pattern, and what do you think about that brood laying pattern? Would you be happy if you had this in your hive?
No.
They're both bad.
Yeah.
They're both bad. There's scattered brood. In fact, there are some drone cells scattered in here.
Mm-hmm.
Over here, you've got a shotgun brood pattern, and you don't have any eggs or anything in there replacing being used again, because bees recycle comb. There's a constant, always process of this cycle, 21 days or 24 days going on. Eggs are laid, 3 days. You study all that in your class, but this goes on and on all through the spring into the summer. Bee populations can reach 60 to 80,000 bees, and then it starts downhill, because egg laying is related to nectar sources coming into the hive, and so the bee population begins to decline. And for those of you who are thinking ahead, mite populations are increasing, and at that point mite populations become unmanageable in most hives, and hives then die in the fall. They just seem to collapse. Have you seen that? Okay. Oops. Went backwards, and I didn't mean to do that.
I think you could just use the arrow keys on the keyboard.
If I could find the keyboard here.
Oh, sorry.
Let's see here. Okay. Yes, okay, here we go. What a difference. Okay, here is a good queen job. We can look in the cells and see all these eggs. Every cell has an egg in it. If you take a look at eggs, you can almost tell how old the egg is, because when the queen lays the egg, it's very straight up and down in the cell. As it ages, it'll lay over on its side. And then a young larva will emerge, the egg hatches, and then there's a little worm in there, a little tiny one, and it grows. I heard Jim too describe this one time as you take a baby elephant and you grow it into an adult elephant in 9 days. 9 days. In the 9th day from the egg being laid, the bees cap that cell over. And in the meantime, they are using a huge amount of food to feed the larvae that hatch from these eggs. And what do you think when you get a frame like this?
It's beautiful.
If you have a queen doing that, she is a good queen. If you have a queen doing like what we looked at before, you've got some problems. And this is what it should look like. All cat brood. You see little white areas over in this area? That's larva that's being fed, and in no time at all, they'll be capped over. These bees will start to emerge, and as soon as they come out of their cells, other bees will come in, clean it up, and the queen will come back and start laying eggs again. How many of you would like to make money with bees? I hear some laughing. Okay, here's a hive in real trouble. This is an indication that you've got something laying all grown, no worker brood at all. And a hive like this is destined to die. Some people have said, well, you can take the bees in the hive, shake them off, take them some distance away, 50 yards, 100 yards, whatever, shake them off, and then you can introduce a new queen. I've got news for you, it doesn't work. Anybody here tried that? Okay, quite frankly, the bees that are laying eggs can fly. They have wings, and they'll come right back, and they do not tolerate a new queen introduced into the hive. They probably will kill her. There are maybe some rare cases where it might succeed, but when you're spending $50 for a queen, you really don't want to try that. Take this hive and set it on the strongest hive you've got. I'll tell you what, those laying workers, they're not going to be there at the end of the day. They're going to be gone. And then you can requeen.
Dana, you had about 10 minutes left?
Okay, we're going to move pretty quickly here. Management issues, making splits, swarming, and honey crops. Where's your interest at? With this 10 minutes that we got, where are we? How many of you would like me to talk about swarming?
You're gonna swarm.
You know, it's I could show you queen cells that are in the process, but Dewey will do all that coming up next week or next month. But let me just stop here with honey crops for a second. I like the variety of honey produced in North Carolina. It is amazing. Tulip poplar. Is there much tulip poplar in this area?
Yeah.
How about gallberry? Down along the ocean, it grows in swampy areas. Gallberry. That is a crop that's disappearing in North Carolina. I've talked to a commercial beekeeper who said, you know what they're doing, they're kind of draining these swamps and they're building big factories and all kinds of things, and they're taking a lot of acreage out of what used to be gallberry land. And so your gallberry production is down, really down. Cotton is fine. If you happen to live near a cotton farm, you'll get some cotton honey. The real big story here in North Carolina is sourwood. There are a lot of people here in North Carolina putting their hives on trailers and hauling them across the Boone and onto the area west of I-77. There's that, in fact, some a little bit before I-77, but there was some sourwood honey back there. I don't know if any of you tasted it or not, but it is a premium honey, slow to granulate. You can sell it for double the price of what regular honey sells for. If you're selling it for $12 a pound, you can sell it for $24 a pound and sell it, because there is a demand. To get the honey crop, you need hives like this. You don't want to be, when you split a hive, you're taking bees out of the hive, and in this case, the management to get a honey crop is going to take a whole different look, basically, because you've got to prevent swarming. Every time a hive swarms, you just lost 30 pounds of honey, 30, 40 pounds of honey. Not only are the bees going to engorge on honey, take what honey's in here, they're going to leave. And they will go wherever they go and build wax comb and just go to town. If any of you have ever caught a swarm, have you noticed how quickly they develop? If they are back here, guess what they're doing? They're packing this hive with honey. Queen excluders, I hate them. Some people say, well, you got to keep the queen out of the supers, so she doesn't lay brood up there. How many of you are aware that queens generally will not cross comb, a layer of cap comb?
Book says that.
I say it.
Every frame I've had, every one of my boxes had brood on it.
Okay, if you take a super like this, you put a super that has honey in it. In other words, bottom super is going to, if you bottom super, the queen's coming up because there's cells here for her to lay eggs in. If you keep your honey down, put your new supers on top, basically the bees will have to carry the honey up. And I have kept 600 hives of bees, didn't own a queen excluder at all. And basically, we didn't harvest our honey. We harvest our honey late in the year, not early. That probably had a lot to do with it. But the fact is, the bees have a barrier. This capped honey is a barrier, and they very seldom will pass over it. How many of you have seen a hive of bees that's got 2 deeps and there's no bees in the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
Every spring.
Another thing that we did is we reversed our deep boxes. In other words, this box is full of bees, the bottom below box doesn't have many bees at all. So just take that box and set it on top of this box and start piling supers on. There's a number of things that commercial beekeepers do to get honey crops. They may take the queen out of this hive, put her in a nuke box, set it beside the hive behind, and during the period of the honey flow, no brood is actually being raised. And so the bees will be, the foraging bees will be filling the supers with more comb, more honey. It's almost impossible to get comb drawn after a honey flow is over. If you have brand new comb and you're trying to get it drawn, get it in your hive now. Because it doesn't make any difference what you do in the summer. When there's the honey flow gone, the bees are sitting, they're going to be piling up on the front of the hive. How many of you have seen the beard on the front of the hive in a hot summer? They're going nowhere. They're just sitting there and they're consuming the honey that's in the hive. Okay, let's open this up to a few questions. I've had a good time being here tonight. I really enjoy the attention that you've shown me. I am always kind of looking for things to do. I write, by the way, a weekly newsletter, which is free. All you need to do is send an email to me, StalhmanApries@AOL.com. So I think I can bring it up even on the screen. I don't get paid, by the way. There it is. Okay. For any of you who want a copy of that, StalhmanApries@AOL.com. I'm in the 6th year of writing this, and it comes out every Saturday morning. It covers topics. This week is going to be swarming. I have this hive in my backyard. I start taking pictures. What do I do? How do you handle this? That sort of thing. With the students that I get all kinds of things that are going on, what's happening. Judy and I, we travel across the state. I've got talks to give over in Winston-Salem and down toward Asheville and all over. So I get to see a lot of things going on in the state. So there's a lot of things to talk about. And I am in the process of revising my website. I haven't done anything with it since 2015, but I'm going to put all of the articles that I've written over the past 6 years up online so everybody can get to it. There is a Pennsylvania Bee Club that carries back editions of my newsletter. It is CCB, it's 3 C's, lowercase, BEE.org. And they have carried it for at least 3 years. I think they've got copies going back. But I have a lot to be thankful for the people that have taught me. I have great respect. Dewey Karen is one of those people. I've had the pleasure of, going to EAS meetings where you meet a lot of these people, and I was a speaker, and you get to kind of eat with them, and we start talking about issues that they have. One of the funniest people around is Jim Two. How many of you read Bee Culture magazine? You can't top Jim Two. If you're the guy speaking after he's left the stage, you got a real problem because he leaves you in stitches. I can remember him telling one time about he stopped his car along the road. He saw hives up on a hill. He hiked across this field because, they were just glistening in the sun. When he got up there, it was a cemetery. And that's the thing that Jim does. He kind of has you laughing, and it is interesting. I don't know whether you get your meetings from YouTube or going to pods, but Kim Flaugham would be another excellent speaker who had so much to share. I thank you so very much.
Does anybody